My bitch got me a wallet hat from Didneyland. My bitch got me a wallet hat from Didneyland.
Where'd you move here from, dumb?
Welcome everyone to Dumsy Classic Month, where I make positive reviews for once. I'm gonna be honest, January's a really bad month for ad revenue, but I don't want to be fucking stagnant, so they're gonna be less over-edited videos, so less memes in them. That way I can focus January on resting and making content for February and beyond. It's gonna be a month for stuff that I deem to be a classic, a certified hood classic. Also, too many of you motherfuckers complain that I do too many negative reviews. All you do is hate on things. Okay then, how about a whole month for positive reviews, huh? What am I now, your little circus animal, your little monkey?
Take me back to water breaks and burning inside.
Before we get moving though, this video is sponsored by Atlas VPN. As someone who's chronically online, I am very scared of internet people. Thankfully, this is where Atlas VPN comes in. Atlas VPN encrypts your data and protects your privacy. So when you connect to one of Atlas VPN's servers, it may look like you're taking the walk to Poland. I hope to God that meme's not dead. But in reality, you're just chilling at a home, safe and sound. And furthermore, Atlas VPN's interface is so easy to use that even grandma can get in on the action. Yeah, go grandma! And with how much of a great deal this is, why wouldn't you want it? However, for me, as someone who watches a lot of movies, Atlas VPN is really useful when it comes to streaming. You see, certain movies are geo-locked to certain locations and regions. For example, one of my favorite movies, The Grand Budapest Hotel, is on Disney+. However, it's not in America. Thankfully, thanks to Atlas VPN, I can change my location to, say, Australia. And oh my god, they got The Grand Budapest Hotel and The French Dispatch? It's like a secret library of art house. If all this sounds good to you, check out the link in the description below. Big thanks to Atlas VPN for sponsoring this video. Make sure you check them out. Now back to the funny video. I fucking hate Disney. In the span of 15 years, Pixar built up a very impressive resume. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 movies, all of which are in their own ways beloved. And I would say at least 8 of those could be considered peaks of their genres. That is impressive. Look at stupid-ass Martin Scorsese, not even he can do that. Look at dumbass Quentin Tarantino, he'll make the best films ever made, then follow it up with fucking Death Proof. Like, the fuck are you doing, Quentin? Go back to sniffing toes. For people my age, Pixar was and is a big part of our childhoods. And where after the Disney Renaissance, Disney kind of floundered for a few years, Pixar was at their absolute peak. Nowadays, ironically, Pixar is kind of a shell of their former selves, making films that are at best, and at worst, fucking terrible. But overall, nothing that really matches that quality high. Man, that's real unfortunate. I wonder what happened. Oh god. During their winning streak though, one film tends to be a fan favorite, even getting a spot in the Criterion collection. That film of course being WALL-E. Now is WALL-E Pixar's best movie? That's up for debate. I think Up and The Incredibles are more consistent overall, but I think WALL-E is Pixar's most impressive movie. And you wouldn't be wrong saying it's their best. Saying that WALL-E is Pixar's best movie is kinda like saying that Goodfellas is Scorsese's best work. Like no, the answer is Wolf of Wall Street, your dumb and stupid and bad opinion, but you absolutely wouldn't be wrong in thinking that. Once again, I do think this is Pixar's most impressive movie on a narrative level. As we've seen time and time again, writing romance is very complicated, and WALL-E does this with very minimal dialogue. WALL-E's eye movements and little grunts have so much expression to them, while Eve is a lot more slick, a bit more stoic, I'd say even ethereal, and you get this really interesting dynamic. The romance is communicated extremely well, and even more impressive once you realize that there's no dialogue between these two. It's all through visual communication, including a visual humor, very impressive sound design, and a surprising amount of non-verbal development. The romance is really heartwarming, and WALL-E's own personal loneliness is actually very relatable. You feel for the guy when he just folds his hands while watching a romance movie, and how his isolation finally breaks when he meets Eve. It's really a masterclass in visual storytelling, which kind of begs the question, which is more important, the story or the storytelling? In 1938, Orson Welles performed The War of the Worlds, a radio drama adaptation of the H.G. Wells novel of the same name, and a radio drama that would end up causing mass hysteria.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program of dance music to bring you a special bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News. At 20 minutes before 8 Central Time, Professor Farrell of the Mount Jennings Observatory, Chicago, Illinois, reports observing several explosions of incandescent gas occurring at regular intervals on the planet Mars.
The story discusses a war between us, the humans, and Martians from, Mars, and is highly influential in the sci-fi world. Adapted and dramatized as a breaking news report, Orson Welles' version of the War of the Worlds recontextualizes the story as a series of breaking news broadcasts. War of the Worlds was so convincing that it led to people actually calling in, afraid that aliens were actually attacking. It is one of the most famous events in American history, and the beginning of Orson Welles' cementation as one of America's earliest, greatest auteurs. Anyways, back to WALL-E. My point is that for decades upon decades upon decades, it's been proven that time and time again, storytelling is just as important as the actual story. And for a visual medium like film, storytelling might actually be more important than the actual story. Because the thing is, I don't think WALL-E has that good of a story. Like, let's be honest here. The villain isn't really that good. The stuff with the humans is very, hit or miss. Quite a bit of the drama is pretty contrived. Shut the fuck up, okay? Who the fuck cares if some of the drama is contrived? Because in the end, it's just all told so well. And that's the point I'm getting at here. The storytelling in WALL-E is just so great. Once again, the way WALL-E the character interacts with the world around him is very cool. Even in the second half of the movie, which people call kinda mid, which personally, I don't think it is. It's not as strong as the beginning, but it kind of wraps the film up in a pretty nice way. But even then, the way the stubby, dirty little WALL-E interacts with the people around him, the way he interacts with people like Mo or Big Chungus, the non-verbal dialogue is still carried on very well. Only now he's being contrasted with actual verbal characters, or more diverse non-verbal characters. That same storytelling still bleeds across the entire movie. And especially in the opening act, this storytelling is still very impressive. I've seen quite a few people try and over-convolute their stories as a way to try and make it seem more impressive. Now, I'll admit, part of me has a soft spot for over-convoluted stories, but WALL-E proves there is something more important than that. You can have the most simplest story in the world, and you can still make it extremely engaging, as long as you communicate it effectively to your audience. Something that, once again, I feel WALL-E does very well. It's so impressive how human this story feels, judging that the main characters aren't even humans at all. But I think part of it is just how good their character designs are. In universe, they're very practical, but at the same time, almost made to be expressive. Look at WALL-E. He's dirty, he's meek, he's short, he's stubby, but you could also see him as like an actual service robot. Detached from his in-universe personality, I couldn't imagine the amount of effort that went into crafting this character. They had to create a design that both fit the character's personality and could realistically be practical in this universe. Once again, it can't really be understated just how impressively all this comes together. I think that if you're gonna take anything away from watching WALL-E, it's the beauty there is in simplicity and brevity. A lot of writers will take the axiom approach, the by and large approach, stuff their story with so much shit and pretend it's impressive, when in reality it's just a fatty garbage. But actually taking the time to improve on the storytelling, creating a work that's properly communicated, adding a beating of heart and personality to your story is just as impressive and important, if not more so. That's why I think, holy shit, 15 years later? God damn, I'm old. That's why I think 15 years later, WALL-E still stands the test of time. Once again, is this Pixar's absolute best movie? That's up for debate, but there's no denying it. This movie's an absolute classic. This film's commitment to near perfect visual storytelling is just so apparent, so perfectly crafted, and filled with so much heart that sadly you don't see nowadays from Pixar. Rewatching this film so many years later just gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling. Things were just simpler during the age of the recession and crippling homelessness. Once again, this film is nothing short of absolutely impressive, and an incredible artistic feat. That's why I'm glad to call this film an absolute classic, with my own badass seal of approval. Now, if you excuse me, I got some Eve porn to jack off to.
Fuck you in the lanes you came with. Me and you ain't on the same shit. You ain't in my lane, bitch, nah. Throw that shit in fifth, rollie on my wrist. Ay, baby, you a star, I'm my only wish. I'm counting blue hundreds, I'm too money. Ay, and my little bitch, she too lovely. Yeah, hanging up and calling me right back. Ay, baby, why you calling me like that? Yeah, getting high with the seat, lay back. Baby, gon' relax, yeah. Hey, they don't know the half, yeah. No matter what happened, I got your back. Baby, that's the facts, yeah. That's the facts, yeah. Yeah, we can fight, but the feeling's gone. I try to find the words, but they never come. I can still see you on the lawn. Hey, laying outside in the summer sun. Yeah, we can fight, but the feeling's gone. I try to find the words, but they never come. I can still see you on the lawn. Hey, laying outside in the summer sun. Hey, I'm with a dark-skinned girl on a Sunday. That's that Black Sabbath. facts, yeah.
My bitch got me a Wally hat from Disneyland. My bitch got me a Wally hat from Disneyland.